And good afternoon. We are Group 3 and we will be presenting a topic based on safety and security. The theme, as you can see from the slide, is actually from virtually all different universities and from different countries. And actually, it's actually not a very technical theme. Only 3 members actually have some technical skills in computational science. But nonetheless, we have managed to come up with something, and we hope that you like what we'll be presenting. We are actually building a predictive model from tweets to predict public disturbances for the use by security agencies and emergency services for their planning and deployment purposes. The reason is because such services are actually very costly and resources are finite. And our data set we use will be 1.8 million. It's actually based on a 1.8 million tweets from the month of April 2013 following the announcement of Mrs. Margaret Thatcher's death. After my introduction, my colleague, my teammate Gert, will talk about the theoretical orientations of this project, followed by Junmin here. He'll share about the technical aspects on the content analysis. Followed by me, I'll talk a bit more on sentimental analysis, and followed by my teammate Eileen there. She'll share with you the limitations, and I will come back and sum up everything together. Over to you, Gert.
Thank you. So I'm quickly going to give some theoretical underpinnings and explain why we wanted to do this kind of research. As we know, after the death of Margaret Thatcher, there were a lot of celebrations of her death on squares in public. And while these aren't necessarily violent, we think that the police still needs to be aware of such protests because they might lead to situational threats, as you can read in our overview here. And because if they're aware of such protests, they can go over to predictive and proactive policing and can anticipate things. And this way they can allocate scarce resources better. And in this way they might prevent potential crime. And therefore we decided that in our model it's essential that that our model might lead to proactive and predictive policing. So therefore we try to make this predictive model. In this way, as we heard in all the keynotes this week, we picked a certain event because it's a good trigger to collect a certain data set. And so like David said before, we collected 1.8 million tweets from in the month after the death of Margaret Thatcher. And then we decided on keywords for a content analysis, on which Daniel will tell you more about later. And then through using these keywords in this topic modeling, we filtered the data set so we can see, or at least we hoped to see, around which times and when and what locations people might potentially meet to celebrate the death of Margaret Thatcher. So basically we tried to develop a prediction model. And to test if our model actually worked, we wanted to look at real events that happened by looking at news reports of those events. And well, so basically what we're looking for were these kinds of events. As you can see, there was a big event in Trafalgar Square on the 13th of April. As you can see on the right of the screen. But there was also a big protest in Liverpool where I think they closed the mines a long time ago, so many people are still very angry because of that. They think that Margaret Thatcher is responsible for that. And so we try to find, through people's tweets, we try to see if we can predict such events as these. And my colleague Daniel will tell you something more about how we might predict these events.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I'm in charge of the technical aspect. So we gathered 1.8 million Twitter data, basically, all about Margaret Thatcher. Okay, so within this Twitter data, we need to look at their messages. We want to know in the content analysis, like where they go, their place, their time, when their riot's gonna happen. So we try to formulate all this out. And in sentiment analysis, okay, we separated into four types of segment. We have positive, negative, negative, positive, and negative, negative. So just to give an example, the word celebrate, it's a positive word, right? It's like what I said that day, it's a word we all celebrate, like during our birthdays, we use in celebration, okay? But in the person's death, like Margaret Thatcher, if you say we celebrate her death, is it something positive or negative? Something negative. So it falls under category of something like positive, negative, right? So here's a graph of this is a percentage of tweet, okay, following the following the event of Margaret Thatcher's death. So as you can see on the 13th, I'm not sure you can really see the details down here, which is the 13th. So on the 13th of April 2013, okay, there's a spike. And to summarize this graph, it's actually a percentage of people who posted tweets. So these are the tweets of people posted protest, a word protest, okay, over the number of tweets. So we have quite little number percentage of tweets, so that's a good thing to see. And to summarize, okay, these are just examples of tweets that we are looking for. Okay, so we have like people who post that Mark Thatcher dies, the party goes south. Okay, and as you can see on this, I'm trying to scroll to this post that you can see on the 13th. People are gathering in actually Trafalgar Square. Yeah, which that protest really happened. So before people gather, a lot of people on the 12th of April actually posted they're going to gather in Trafalgar Square, which that protest really happened. So to summarize, this is just about the content analysis, and I'm going to pass it on to sentiment analysis.
Thanks, Daniel. Now, for sentiment analysis, what we did was actually very similar approach with what Group 1 just mentioned. We actually go by topics, but our topics is actually the 4 sentiments. In the interest of time, we only show two sentiments here, as positive, positive, and negative, negative. Now, you notice something very interesting. Yeah, something very interesting. Although there's a lot of literature out there discussing about the limitations of sentiment analysis, which we will elaborate a bit more. But we noticed something from our work. There's something very interesting with the negative chart sentiment, because if you're going to protest, obviously it's a negative sentiment, and in our case, this should be the correct one should be negative, negative. You notice that remember just now Daniel mentioned about 13 when we were using a topic model with words associated with protests, like celebrate parties and all that, associate protests. There's this actually spike going on. You notice that when we talk about sentiment, there's this alignment of the graph, graph line. It also shows the same chart because obviously so, because negative sentiment is associated with hate, is associated with anger, is associated with protest. So although despite the limitations of what the literature says about sentiment analysis, at least in our context and for our these data sets, it seems to show that the two are aligned. The sentiment analysis and the protest, the planning of the protest, there's actually an alignment actually.
2 minutes.
Okay. Now hand to my teammate Lily to mention about the limitations.
Okay, from our project, we have two issues. First is technical issues, and then the second one is social issues. For the technical issues, we have that creating topic models of relevant words to filter the noise can cleansing the data set, but it can make the data incomplete, so it has an impact on the accuracy of the predictions models. And then the limitations of determining the emotion from choice of words can make some different meanings of the tweets and the sentence of the tweets. And then some social issues is the first accuracy or representation. For example, not everyone is on Twitter or saying what they are going to do. So we can just cannot validate or this is our ongoing event and then the future event from the Twitter. And then the social media do not spark revolutions on their own, but the socio-economic status of the situations has to be taken in account because it make some different cultures in the peoples who share the tweets. And then the last time is it's hard to measure the emotion not just on the Twitter and also in the others media. And then the last, our future research.
Yeah, I'll just sum up first. Now, as you can see, our intention is to build a tool to allow the respective agencies to do some planning ahead of time to prevent problems. As you can see, even the examples of the tweets shared by Gert, which is actually the actual events, and also the tweets shared by Daniel here, which is actually people talking about going to process around that date. So actually, it shows that it's sound. The concept is actually sound, but what we need is actually better natural language processing techniques to make it a realistic model, actually to make it viable. But the concept is actually sound. So, but then it's okay because in the interest of science, it's just one piece of a jigsaw puzzle in the interest of science for progress. Thank you very much.